Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice. We got one of those episodes today that I personally love. We're talking about your brain. We're talking about your mindset, because entrepreneurs, we get ourselves stuck and we need to get unstuck. And we have someone here who's going to help us do that in 15 minutes. You're going to have your life back in 15 minutes. I guarantee it. Okay, maybe not, but we're going to see where we get. So Carly Pepin, a human behavior specialist. Welcome to the show. First and foremost, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Brandon.
Did I overpromise? Are we not going to cure people in 15 minutes, or can we do this?
We're definitely probably not going to cure people in 15 minutes, but we'll definitely give them ahas and insights.
We're going to try. Okay, let's get people the first step to unstuck, because I think, we have to start with awareness and then, go from there and see what happens. But I find first and foremost that when we are stuck, we don't even know we're stuck in most cases. So talk to me about that for a second, because I want to hear what you do, but then also, and how you help entrepreneurs and business owners. But I also want to hear, like, what are some of the things that people present with when they come to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So individuals, when they're coming to me and they're connecting with me, they want to expand some part of their life, right? Sometimes it's an entrepreneur or business owner that wants to expand their health, their wellness, their relationships, those dynamics. And sometimes it's just an individual who wants to expand their business, right? Their finances. So, I mean, we're all humans, we all have different goals. Whenever we're feeling stuck in one area of life, it's interesting because you'll notice that other areas of life are moving quite well, right? So just that one particular component that you're feeling, ooh, like stagnant in. And it can be very frustrating. It's definitely frustrating. And so it's wisdom to first find out why we're stuck, right? Sometimes genuinely, there's a bunch of different things. This is where all the fun questions come in with clients. But some things to look for is it might genuinely be something that's not important to you. And sometimes I'll say that to people, and it's hard for them to hear until we start to ask some questions and you see that your life demonstrates that you're not actually focused on this area of life. For example, I have this a lot, by the way, like I'll have people who come in, and perhaps a business owner. I have one who came in to work on relationships, and all we do is focus on business. And I'll ask, do you want to focus on relationships? And they're like, no, 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 this is more important. So the truth is, this person can go beating themselves up all day long for not working on relationships like they thought they should because they thought they were stuck, or they realize that they're not really stuck in relationships. It's just that business is such a high priority for them. It's not something that's on the table right now. So that's something to pay attention to. And sometimes we're stuck because we're stuck in our own limited perceptions, where we have this mindset and these misperceptions that are driving a mindset that are causing us to not take the action necessary, not move forward in the way that we know we want to be able to create those, short and long term goals that are quite inspiring to us. And that's when we kind of dive in and do the deeper work and understand where this is coming from, which sometimes it's from childhood. Oftentimes it's from childhood, but then there's also dynamics where, maybe you had a family member growing up who lost all their money and you had to witness that and you had to go through with that. That's going to cause some financial strain and perceptions that cause some anxiety in the future. But that also could happen maybe 5 years ago, where you got in a lawsuit and you lost a lot of money and it was totally unexpected and you lost your business, right? Worked with those too. That also impacts. So those things that impact us create these subconscious and conscious fears that actually stop us and halt us from moving forward. So that's why we like to see, well, if you are stuck, let's really find out what's going on. And sometimes you just don't believe in yourself. You're so busy comparing yourself to all these other people in the world, you haven't given yourself permission to go out there and do what you love and love what you do.
Yeah, I'm curious about the relationship example you gave, because the other stuff makes sense, and we'll definitely touch on that in a second. But that one I was surprised by, because I always kind of picture life and business as like a wheel, right? Like you kind of need to round out all the areas, because if any one is suffering, it's going to come back to bite you. So in that scenario, what was the what was the long-term solution for that? Because I get it. Like there are seasons where
Mhm.
businesses takes priority. Maybe it's you're super busy or you have a big challenge you need to solve. We can't put off relationships forever though. So what was the
Well,
solution to that problem?
yeah, this is where part of the illusion comes in, is that individual isn't putting off relationships. They're just focusing on the relationships that are inspiring to them. We could
Mhm.
label something and this type of romantic relationship as better, but the relationships that they were really genuinely thriving from was a business partnership, the relationship with their employees, with their teams, with their top customers. So they're involved in relationships all day long. It's not up to me to say what's right or wrong in accordance to someone else's life. It's up to me to find out what truly inspires you and help you to move forward in that specific way. Right. And it's interesting because, we still work together and I have a giggle. And I'm like, when you're ready, you'll be ready. They're like, not yet. None. They're really like inspired by their life and really fulfilled by what they do. So it's not even now that anything's missing. It's just they thought something was missing, but when they could see the family dynamic they've created in their company, when they could see the relationships that they've created in their company, they're like, oh, nothing was missing. I just love it here. And so when we have that label, and this is where the comparisons come in, and we're comparing us to someone on the outside, and we say, I should be this way. I should have this because this is, the way the world is, or the way world says I'm supposed to be. Then all of a sudden we're missing out on what's truly meaningful for us. There's some people who never get married. That's okay. There's no right or wrong to that. We can put a label on it, but that's according to one unique individual and their values, but not the other person. I like being married. It's my thing. I like relationship and marriage as well. So that's part of my thing. But it's not their thing. And so part of working with individuals is ensuring that you're paying attention to what's important to them, not what's important to me, but what's important to you in your life and your purpose, and helping them to create that in that way. Because at the end of the day, if you do that, you'll feel so inspired and alive and energized and fulfilled that you have certainty, nothing's missing, and you don't need to go seek something that you thought you needed. And instead you go after what you want, what you love to do. That's where you feel alive.
Yeah, no, that's different because what I heard you
Mm.
say was originally there was no such thing as relationships. And I'm like, well, we deal with
Oh no.
people all day long. So we need to have some form of people in our lives.
Yeah, all day
That's
long,
different.
all day long.
Yeah, okay. So that makes more sense. But no, yeah, I think what I really took away from that was the comparison. And whether it's, on social media or to your best friend or your neighbor or whatever, that's just going to destroy you because every human being is unique and their needs are unique too. So uncovering what's important to you is really the foundation of that. And I'm curious, you kept talking about, you mentioned values a number of times, which is, we talk about that with our clients in the context of, what's right and wrong within your company. Like, what are the values that your company demonstrates and hires and fires by and all that stuff. So can you unpack that for me on a personal level? Because I'm sure that's a big driver of what is really important in your life.
Absolutely. And it even spirals into our company because the values you have personally are also going to be things that you want your company to have as well. So, for example, if you really value personal growth and personal development, you're going to be the type of company that brings on other practitioners to assist your employees. And that's going to be kind of the culture that you create, right? If you really value family and that's something that's a high value for you, something that you prioritize, your company is going to reflect that, and there's going to be a lot of family style connections, right? That's going to be your culture. And so it's really interesting because when you understand who you are, you're going to understand that those are things that you're definitely going to incorporate in your company, and it becomes part of your company's mission and vision. To understand it within ourselves, we want to see what our life demonstrates, like what we love to focus on, what energizes us, makes us feel alive, right? So if you look at me, I love speaking. Doesn't matter what's going on, I love speaking. I love teaching in particular when I'm speaking, right? I love working with clients. That keeps me energized. I feel alive. I'm at my tippity top peak, right? And even if I'm having a really rough day, which I laughed at my husband the other day, you can look at some of my videos and you'll be like, that looks like a day she was having a rough day. My hair's a little disheveled, like I'm looking a little like tired, and it's like that's a rough day. But my energy level is still the same because it energizes me. So when you actually look and see in your life, what does your life demonstrate that you get energized by? Is it reading? And if it's reading, what specifically are you reading? What topics energize you to study? What people energize you to listen to? What experiences do you have that energize you? And what's the common thread behind it? And that's where you're going to find what your life purpose is. What you value most is actually your life purpose. It's really, really cool. And when you uncover and discover this more, you not only realize like who you are, and it's easier to say yes and no to people, by the way, because when you know who you are, you know what to say no to, you know what to say yes to. But also, you get more certainty in yourself. You build more confidence, self esteem. So it helps your leadership, the natural leader, come out as well because you are more certain in yourself. You do have like a higher degree of self worth when you know who you are and you know what you want in life.
Yeah, I'm curious how this spills over too with
Mhm.
your client, particularly in business, in the business world, because a lot of times we'll come into a company, and we'll see everybody. It's not just the leader doing things that drain them just because it's part of the role, or it's the tasks associated with the job. There are things that have to get done, of course, but we get in such boxes like no, the head of HR can only do these things, or the marketing person can only do these things. How much of a transition do you see after working with your clients about focusing then on the things that do light them up by doing
Mhm.
them consistently in the workplace, in their companies? What's the shift for both themselves and also their company?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, like one individual that I'm thinking of right now, it's quite inspiring because he loves leading his teams, loves it so much. And we have a good laugh because I'm like, you are a coach and a consultant. You've just done it instead of having your own business, you're doing it within this company. And he keeps creating teams, growing teams, creating leaders of the teams, growing team leaders. Now he has team leader teams, and now he's a leader of that, and they lead their teams, and it just keeps spiraling down, right? So the biggest impact that that's made is we're seeing someone who's incredibly inspired by what they do. His goal, and they're in construction, so his goal isn't just to make money and have the business thrive. Like that is a goal because he has a high value on creating finances. But at the same time, he really thrives helping people overcome these perceptions that they have about themselves and create great wealth and opportunity for themselves in their lives. That's like what he thrives off of, and he gets to do that through this business. And so by going in there and pushing these individuals, their teams to actually create more income for the company, which they work a lot on commission, creates more income from themselves. He's basically watching these people start to grow not just the business, but also their lives. And that lights them up. That lights him up. That lights them up. And at the end of the day, it's funny because you look at this and he doesn't even own this business, but he loves it. They are dedicated to him. They genuinely are dedicated to helping him grow the business, but also him in general. They are not there for the company, they're there for that man. And when you can put yourself in that position as a leader, you don't realize that people don't just sign up for the company, they're signing up for the vision of the company. And when they get that inspired to do it on hard days, they show up with you anyways. It's really cool. So we're watching people not just get people aligned with their job because some days are hard. Even, anyone who has any business, and I love my business, but there are days that are challenging. If you love what you do, you show up irregardless of how you feel. And that's the most important thing. And so helping people engage in the vision of the company in this way, leading them in that way, allows them to show up with you as well. They're as excited as you to get this job done. Right. So it's really cool. It's really cool to witness and see how you can transform yourself within a company and let that trickle down into the rest of the individuals that you get to work with.
Yeah, I love that so much,
Mhm.
and it's so true when you hire people who are they're in support of your company's vision and mission too. But that's when we really start to see incredible growth within companies. We put a huge focus there because it's the foundation for us of growing a company is the mission, vision, and core values. Because if there's misalignment there, everybody's pulling in different directions. But if everybody's rowing in the same way, super super powerful, and it's very cool to see that that's really what you help people do is find their own internal sort of navigation, and bring that back to their companies. One thing I am curious about though is, in your working with people, what I've found, and we don't go deep with the human being, we focus on the business, but what I've found is that a lot of times our clients are so dejected and beat up over the years when they're coming to us, and they just need like something. They need that little bit of hope to say like, I started this business for a reason 15 years ago. Now I'm chained to it. I hate it. But that vision was there at one point. Do you see that when working with your clients? How do you go about uncovering sort of that purpose and that original vision and restoring that?
Yeah, so definitely in those moments, they have disconnected from the original vision. Sometimes when we're going back through the process of understanding to a greater degree what that is, right? Because sometimes you might start and you might think, well, I'm just doing this, because I really like, I could say, well, I really like personal development. So I'm just doing it for that, right? Not the reality. There's an individual I was working with, and initially, like, he had that challenge, but he thought he just wanted to basically create finances. When he disconnected from his business, there was a ton of challenges that occurred, so he had to come back in, but he felt that just ejected, right? Just like drained. So when we actually found out the deeper purpose behind what he was doing, it was because he wanted to change the financial base of a culture. Right? He wanted them to have the privileges that we have in America, but in a third world country. And so he pays his employees those wages, and he's changing the whole way like they live and see life, right? And so that's the deeper meaning behind the company. When you uncover that, it's such like a quick shift in the sense where it's like, oh, now I know why I'm doing this. And I want to go out there and create and make that purposeful again. The other thing that we do is we'll dive in because oftentimes if you've disconnected, something or one or many things have been incredibly challenging and overwhelming. So we go back and do some of the personal development, mindset shifts, perception transformations to ensure that those challenges you went through no longer seem like challenges, but we want to neutralize the perception and the emotions behind it so that it becomes just an event. And that way, there's no fear of it repeating. It's not that you don't want to experience it anymore. It's almost like a magnet, right? We hate it so much, it like pushes us away. So we want to shift that perception. And then all of a sudden, there's just no impact anymore. And that also helps remove a lot of that drain and it brings the energy back. It makes you feel alive again.
Yeah, that's so incredible.
Mhm.
I love this conversation and hate it all at the same time because I want to go deep into specific situations and help every single person that's listening. Obviously, we can't do that, but I just love I love this topic because yourself gets in the way of yourself is like my stupid way of saying it, but every single time your roadblock is within, and once you can get past that you can grow your business, you can grow your team, your finances, your personal relationship, whatever it is. So I love having these conversations on this podcast. Um, Unfortunately, we do have a time limit and we're almost there, but you have provided the listeners a very special gift, which I've put on the screen here. It's down in the show notes if you're watching or listening below, so don't worry about that. But Carly, would you mind telling me about what you have here for us so we can continue this conversation?
Yeah, definitely. It is overcoming imposter syndrome. So basically, it's going to dive into why it actually comes up, kind of the science behind it, and how we can transform and transition out of it. It's pretty fun. I think you guys will enjoy it
How much of your work would you say falls under imposter syndrome as far as what holds people back?
a ton. Because imposter syndrome is our comparisons to the outside world, and we compare ourselves every single day. And once you overcome one comparison, it's like we graduate to our next one. Because you'll start a business and compare yourself to a small business owner. And as your business grows, you compare yourself to mid sized business owners and then large business owners. And so it just never ends. So it's a really helpful thing to understand and really get the hang of working on and working through so that you can continue to move forward when you get stuck in it. It brings up a lot of noise in the brain. And yeah, I go into a lot of detail on that in the podcast gift as well. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's encouraging to hear it never ends. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
This has been so great, Carly. I appreciate it, and I love to end these episodes with a question. I think it's one of those things where we can take that into the rest of our day, and we believe that powerful questions get powerful answers. You hinted at it before. You ask your clients a lot of questions to get to the root of their problems, but if you had to pick one from this
Mm.
conversation, what is that one powerful question the listener can think about for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, the rest of the year until they find the answer, whatever it may be? What is that one thing you want them to ask themselves?
Yeah, what do I love to do and how can I build a life around it? And just keep asking that question. And yeah, then you create a life by design. Every day you wake up inspired to do what you love and love what you do. You feel different in that state. I guarantee it.
I like that question.
Mm.
I like to cut my grass, and I don't want to be a landscaper, so I'm gonna need to do some more thinking around this. I don't think that's the right answer, but that's okay. That's my
Mm.
answer. Think about what your answer is and take that into the rest of your day. That's a powerful question. Carly, thank you so much for being here. You're an amazing guest.
Thank you.
For those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, step one, think about that question. Step two, go grab the imposter syndrome download. That if most of the problems are going to come from that, why don't we cure most of the problems? And step three, of course, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of this daily ridiculous podcast, where hopefully we show you tips and tricks to grow your business, get outside that box that you find yourself in, and get to that next level. That's what we all want, right? But do it the harmonious way. It should be simple. Let's think about other strategies and not just working harder to get where we want. We'll see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.